Here we're going to pick up with portions of the service from Thursday night, May 23rd, in Graham, Washington, after KEKEL returned from 2 weeks on a European vacation tour. After he got done talking about French fries and how he's 50-50 glad to be home and 50-50 the food was okay on the trip, he was talking about a property that they're dealing with in Louisiana. And he's spoken about it before. Thing is, this guy comes back. I played the other night the long-winded description he had of, oh, we went to this airport and that airport, we got home late, blah, blah, blah. And he talks about French fries and food and cruddy coffee and all this. Now he's talking about this whole purchase associated with a building program. Guess what? That's not a thing. It's not a thing. He and others waste time. When you think about the amount of time this guy wastes, and he's got 3 jobs, he says, and he gets paid for all of them, and very well, and rightly so. There does not need to be all of this. Again, they're trying to lure people in. You've got that young couple over in Germany. I was very touched because I watched part of the service. They're in a cafe, so I don't know what their constraints are of time, of loudness, or anything, but it should be intimate. It shouldn't be a show. Oh, we're going to sing for you. Oh, we're going to do this. And we want you to be prancing ponies who do say amen when we want you to. We'll put our hand behind our ear when we want to hear something from you. That's not what it's supposed to be. And if they were preaching the truth and were really inspired by God, it seems like things would happen the way they did in the New Testament that they say they believe in. And people would be flocking. People would hear what's going on, and they would want to come and hear. But see, why do they want to come hear something that sounds like everything else? I mean, what church doesn't have a song service and we'll perform a little ditty and we have choir robes and we spent how much money on that? They don't spend money wisely. It's a building program. They want you to pay the taxes. That's it. So they force tithe. It's tithe or hell.
In any building program. So we got the bids today for a Shreveport project. It's over $1 million to renovate the building. Reverend Gazang brought it to me, a couple of bids by contractors. I told him, we discussed it, and we agreed. This is a big gouge. Either they don't want the work, or they want to dig deep. $70-some thousand to sheetrock a square building? Man, I'll do it for 65. You'll help me? I'll give you $20. But they won't let us do it. It has to be the locals whose palms they are greasing. So I said, well, you go back and tell them that we'd rather put it back on the market than to pay $1 million to redo it. We could have bought a turnkey building for less than $1 million. So we'll see how that turns out. You pray about it, and we'll see if God will stir up the spirit of those greedy contractors, and maybe they'll take about $99,000 less, $100,000 less, $1,900,999 less, and 99 cents. Building programs are a headache in any situation, but God will have his way, and whatever that is, I don't really care. We'll see how it all turns out. God is still on the throne. and everything going on, and maybe, according to what the Bible tells us, they had just gotten a little bit too hung up on fixing up their own houses to where the work and the call of God did not matter.
Here Mike is projecting onto his followers what's going on in his own life. And so recently we heard from Mike. He announced in Arizona that he had bought a home down there, another home, and he was busy fixing it up. Well, this past week, someone sent me a search they did, and it came up with an address associated with Mike. And I can't say for sure or not if this is the home that they recently bought, but it matches a time frame. It looks like it was purchased in November of 2023 in Buckeye, Arizona. And I happen to have family there, so I'm familiar with the area. And it's quite a nice place on a golf course and all. So I'm not going to tell you this is for sure the place that Mike bought. But I'm going to give you this search result. I've cropped some information out of it that I don't feel is pertinent or germane to the conversation. And I'm going to say, you figure it out. I'll include pictures that were also sent to me, and I went and did the whole search myself. I went to the same website, made sure that if I looked up the name, these were the properties associated. Doesn't show all properties, so I'm not sure how this site works. If it's all properties owned by them or used to be or what. I don't know how many, if any, they rent out. You know, it's one of these funny things. We don't want you to be involved in this real estate stuff. But then later on, it's like, you should do this with real estate. It's just, it's meant to keep you in a state of flux of like, what am I supposed to do and what am I not supposed to do?
And the devil still uses that tactic for people called of God who would rather nest than preach.
How in the world do you suppose Mike is able to keep a straight face when he says this? How? He's the nester. I've said it before. He's the supreme grand poobah of nesters up there, out of all of them, out of everyone.
Stirred up their hearts. And what happens is God stirs you, and when he does, he stirs you to action, to take steps in the right direction.
Yeah, steps like calling a travel agent to book a tour, steps like reaching out to a realtor so you can buy a home, another home. Yeah, those kind of steps. Because if everyone up there is supposed to follow his example, that's his example.
This is not this bunch trying to still hold on to the Old Testament and the priesthood.
Dude, are you kidding me? Look who's talking. You tell these people tithe or hell. You have no clue what the tithe was for, do you? It was for the Old Testament. Read it. You want to make fun of the Mormons for hanging on to the priesthood, but that's what you do. You make fun of the J-Dubs, but you go knock on doors and look just like them, interestingly enough, every Saturday.
And fruit of the loom instead of the fruit of the spirit and all this kind of stuff that they do to look spiritual, to make everybody think their religion is right when it's not. Biblically off is what it is.
Trying to make everyone think your religion is right when it's not. It's biblically off, way off. One thing one thing, tithe or go to hell. That is biblically off, way off. And we don't even have to talk about anything else, because that is the axis upon which this NTCC planet turns. It's everything. It's the center of it all. Change my mind. Change my mind, those of you who want to defend the group. Is it true or not? If you go out there to start a church, are you going to do that? You going to be just like KEKEL and say tithe or go to hell? Are you? That guy's never started a church. He's never scratched anything out. Let him try to take his bully pulpit punk style to the streets and see what happens. And let's see how he behaved when he was over in Europe.
Isn't this what should be happening? Should not preaching stir us? Is it up to me to bring it in here and stir you against your will? To disturb your little nest and to stir up your emotions by convenience, by entertainment, by some form of delivery that particularly suits your enthusiastic ambitions? Is it up to me? Well, partly so. But it's also up to you. As it was here, God stirred up the spirit of Zerubbabel.
He doesn't come in to stir you up in a positive way. This man comes in to squash everything that's in your heart about whatever service, whatever thing you think you should be doing for God. There is a set cookie cutter way, and you have to do it that way, and you have to comply that way. You have to show forth the right enthusiasm the way he wants you to. But he comes in and he's a dream squasher. He squashes it all, because you're always left thinking, I'm not good enough. I'm not. He's the hypocrite standing up there who's buying homes, who's going on trips, who's going to see shows about anti-communism, who's preaching politics, who's teaching classes about culture, what's happening, what wave of communism is headed our way. Are you going to tell me right now that God has led this person to do all of that, to say all the things that he said, all the videos I've posted so far? Do you have a problem with any of it? If you do, why is he saying it? Is he led of God? Is he a man of God or not? There is not one thing that shows forth in his ministry that says he's a man of God. There's not one thing. Name it. Name one thing.
But the people also stirred themselves up. And they prospered because when these men came in there and preached to them, they realized we need to stop sitting around being complacent.
You do realize, right? Please tell me you realize. He's projecting onto you what he should be sitting down and saying to himself. He's been complacent so long. He's fooled himself and you into thinking he's doing something. What does he do for the kingdom of God? What? If you're someone who believes that this is a Christian endeavor, this NTCC thing, it's not the people in it. There's a lot of good people, a lot of good people who are genuine. But there comes a time, we live in a time where you can listen to this guy. You can be up in the corner of Maine, and you can know what's going on in Graham. That never used to be. There is no one in Maine. I don't know if there's ever been. I'm just using an extreme example. A faraway corner of the United States, which I don't know, have we ever seen anyone go up to scout out New Hampshire, Maine, Vermont? I don't know. I don't recall it. This is not what you think it is, this NTCC thing. It's not. It's just not. And he is coming back. Do you see how malevolent that is? It really is. It's creepy that this guy can pack up his nice bags and fly over to Europe, be there for 2 weeks. Meanwhile, Kinson gets on you guys for not doing enough. You need to be there every time the doors are open. KEKEL comes back. Oh, man, what a trip. Whew. We went here and there and here and there and here and there. You didn't go anywhere, and you haven't gone anywhere. And going back and forth to conference is not a vacation. Being at conference is not a vacation. That's not how it works. It's not what they do for a vacation. Why is it only them? You have to ask yourself, why? He's going to get on you for not being stirred up. And you're going to sit there and you're going to believe it. You're going to believe God's telling you that. No. If anybody's being told that, it's him, that he's projecting it onto you. And we will have to continue this in a part 3 because it's late and I'm trying to keep it around 15 minutes or so for quick consumption. Not 5 minutes like someone suggested, because there has to be enough there to grab onto. But 15 minutes seems, it's what I'm shooting for right now anyway. So I'll continue more tomorrow because I want to show you what his attitude was when he was over there. You think of, this is supposedly this great man of God in this organization that's meant to win the world. And so what would your behavior be when you're around people? We'll find out. But if you know Mike, you know what probably went down. And for those of us heading back to work tomorrow, it's okay. It's only 4 days. Okay, everyone. Have an absolutely amazing Tuesday.